Hello, everyone. So let's assume I made the comment of we are the only thing that stands between you and lunch, and we can move forward. So I will introduce myself, and then each one of the panel members will introduce themselves. I'm Shiri Hochhauser. I'm a senior specialist at Microsoft Business Development and Strategy and Ventures org. We have long names.
I'm Messica. I'm VP Data Science at Lightricks, and I get my PhD in the area in recommendations and personalization.
Hi, Oren Paikowsky, architect for Salesforce and Salesforce GPT.
Hi, I'm Gal. I lead the AI at CodeFuel. It's a business unit of the Perion network. I'm a master's degree graduate from the Technion. That's it.
So the first topic we wanted to speak about is this is McKenzies Framework looking at the generative AI space. But obviously, I guess you've all heard the debate between the infrastructure layer and between the application layer. And in general, if we would separate this, application layer is about using machine learning models, either building or fine-tuning foundation models to your specific requirements and business needs. And in terms of opportunity, this is where most of the opportunity lays, at least according to McKinsey. And I would really love to get your opinion regarding this in terms of what does it mean for companies building on top of foundation models? How can they differentiate themselves, and how can they make sure they have something proprietary so no one else can, 5 other companies can come and do the same thing as the next state?
Excellent question. So how to differentiate? Like always, we need to bring value. And with this fast pace of innovation, of course, we need to do it fast. So I refer to the different aspects that you mentioned. So first of all, of course, we need to keep ourselves up to date and on top of things, and follow like all the innovations that are released every day now. For example, at Lightricks is have access to both Copilot and ChatGPT in order to really try it to improve both the internal productivity as well as to come with ideas to improve our products and come with new innovations. So this is like from the knowledge point of view. Like always, the important thing is the product market fit, right? We want to come with new features. And the model is only a small part of the whole solution, like the guy at the beginning from AI 121 mentioned. So in order to come with the right product market fit that is built on top of these models, and of course there is a huge opportunity here, we need to move fast, start with a small MVP, and then iterate and improve the solution over time. From a strategic point of view, we need to understand what is the vision, what is our strengths, and then how to combine the new innovation within this new technology. Like at Lightricks, the vision is all about bridging the gap between imagination and creation, and we have expertise with video and image editing, as well as like large population of users, 30 million mouths who use our applications. And we want to see, we continue thinking how we can leverage these strengths with the amazing capabilities of the generative AI. Now, when we talk about the implementation, as we heard like from Gal Chechik specifically lecture, there is a huge gap, and we all heard about the gaps in or the challenges involving in the production aspect of implementing these models in production. So there is a huge space for a secret sauce and a lot of innovation in order to really make these generative AI models work well in production and serve them well. And there is also a lot of space of creativity before what we add to these models, how we train, how we fine-tune them. as well as how we serve the output. So there is a lot of space for both creativity and sequence source and differentiation. And maybe the last point is the cost. So at least at Lightricks, we first focus on bringing value, do it fast with fast iteration, and then take care of the cost and do it efficiently from an economic point of view later on. So this is in a nutshell.
So maybe you'll pass to Gal and specifically maybe referring, because you really covered everything, right? So from the MLOps part of being able to sort of optimize and monitor those models, and we'll touch security later, which are all things that are obviously you need to be able to cover, or the same attack surfaces for any application, and you have new ones because we have here the models. Same goes to monitoring. You have to monitor all the different metrics you would for a normal application, and you have new ones here. So I love the fact that you referred both to this. Gal, I would love to hear also your opinion about this, and maybe also taking an industry angle, because I think it is really important when it comes to applications.
Yeah, so I'm going to refer mainly to the application layer. So I think that because the foundation models are concentrated on a few companies for like AI21, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, etc., and not everyone's going to have the money to train such models. The importance of leveraging your data and your customers' data is a key here. So I'll give an example from my world. Perion is an ad tech company, and we focus on search advertising. So we have like a full feedback loop from the ads we put out there, so we can see which texts convert better. So for example, we can use, doesn't matter what model we use, but we can make that model comply to platform restrictions and to certain types of texts. And only because we control the flow of the data and we have a closed feedback loop. So I think that the companies that will create such feedback loops with their customers will have the advantage, because they then can give value back to their customers and say, let's say for our example, the click-through rate and on your ads will be higher, so you'll get more money back for each ad. So that's one example. But let's say for a company like PayPal, let's say they can give a better conversion for their customers, if they help them optimize their expenses. So they're currently building such platform. So I think that would be the most interesting, because everyone is playing in the same field. Everyone is using the same models. So, but not everyone has the same data and the same ideas on how to leverage that data.
And also maybe another thing that refers to that is also generating data to be inputted for another model, right? Which is part of the feedback loop. Then you are able to generate more and more data. So we'll move to the next question. So the correlation between number of parameters and the size of models to how accurate they are seems like trivial these days. It wasn't. I heard an interview with Ilya, I think from 2020, and he said they didn't necessarily expect it to be like this, but also it seems there is now a shift. So the models, obviously, you have here like the numbers, how much they grew. GPT-5 is like estimation, obviously, but it's definitely went from like 175 billion to 10 trillion in GPT-4. And there is, so I would ask maybe Oren, first of all, do you think it's like the end of the era of giant models? Because there is really, it's not about necessarily, we're not sure they will get better. It's just that the amount of compute and its cost is just too much. And later I'll have a follow-up question. But first of all, if you think this is the end.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I think the answer is no. The easiest probably thing to do is throw money at a problem, and we're still at the era of throwing ridiculous amounts of money. And for now, it's kind of working. The moat that the foundational models have currently, and the differentiation that they have in terms of quality, that's not going away. We see there is a very clear differentiation. And for those, especially the use cases where high scale is not necessary and cost reduction is not the most critical aspect, we don't see any reason for that to go away. So there's going to still be consistent investment in being the most accurate, the best. If you can think about, just any type of high value customer reach, if you can think about, even medical LLM, kind of scenarios, those are still going to use the greatest and best. And it's also going to be a marketing showcase for now. So I think, no, it's not going away. However, we are seeing a lot of very high volume use cases. And I think that's not yet penetrated the market. But when it does come, nobody will be able to use the latest and greatest on that. So I think even today, I mean, for those high volumes, even GPT 3.5 Turbo or whatever versus 4, I think 4 is out of reach right now. We will see a lot of reduction in terms of compute cost and whatever, but for now, it's still a race of who's the biggest.
So I would say though, because even in terms of, is it really more accurate? So most of the times we see that many of these parameters, and intuitively it does make sense that if we have more parameters and the model would be more accurate, but it's not necessarily like that. A lot of the time, a lot of them are flattened, like they're getting zero weight essentially in the answer. So I would ask, can you share with all of us some of another directions for innovation or improving those models that you read of?
Yeah, for sure. So the first thing to note there is, I think we're talking right now about parameters in terms of LLMs and so on. But once you get into the multi-modal models, right? When you bring in visual, when you bring in imagery, audio, and so on, and we're going to see that really, really quickly. You just heard, Sam Altman talk about, the video being the future of GPT-5 or whatever it is. And you're seeing robots, you're seeing augmented reality apps. Those are gonna just need much more complexity, and combining those semantics of visual and audio together, that's gonna require us, I think, more parameters. But that's just my guess. However, for those use cases where that's not necessary, I think we're going to see a lot of like multi-layer pruning, a lot of prompt generation by homegrown models. We see that already in a lot of customers. In terms of just few shot or one shot fine tuning on top of very slim foundational models. So we're going to see a lot more foundational models being created, I think. And that's just definitely going to reduce the necessity, because today, really, it's firing a cannon on, every problem is a nail, right? With the foundational models, that's definitely not giving customers the best quality of responses. But it is reducing dev time, by the way. So whoever has that's another very big aspect here. The foundational models brought AI to the forefront of a lot of companies that just couldn't create, couldn't devote the dev time to create models. And now they have this hammer, and you know what? The problem looks, similar enough to a nail so that they can move forward without that extra cost. So we need to think about that offset as well.
Right. I love the fact you went back to what Asi said. So it's not necessarily like, I would say everyone are really hyped about the technology, and obviously there are applications to any industry, but you need to be able to really show value, and there is someone that is willing to pay for this specific feature. So like with everything. Move. So this is about, I think this is CB Insights a month ago. There were 13 generative AI unicorns. Anyone want to take a guess how many generative AI unicorns were on January, 4 months before? 5, someone said. More guesses? There were 8, so you guys are like even taking it further to like some like the question that we had. But essentially 8 of these were already unicorns in the beginning of 2023, 5 more in 4 months. And I think what is further interesting is that in every other space, the time to becoming a unicorn would be 7 to 9 years, when in generative AI space is 2 to 4. And it's just very interesting, I think, for us to hear from one of the companies that was already in January and much before part of that unicorn club, Lightricks. How do you address that when everyone essentially are coming to your party and to your space all of a sudden? And also, what do you think makes this field special in the sense of, you know, unicorns being built so much faster than in any other domain?
So let me start from the end. So I think really we live in a very exciting, let's say, times. And the reason that we see like a very young unicorn right now in this area is because we really have like a technology breakthrough. And in the past, we saw like with Microsoft, right, with the MS-DOS in the personal computer, or Yahoo at the beginning of the internet, or Amazon at the beginning of e-commerce, like new entrants that in a period of really technological breakthrough who do things correctly and bring value to market and do it fast, have an opportunity to really gain value very, very fast. So I think this is really special about this area. We also saw that the ChatGPT should pass 100 million mouths, right, after 2 months, where TikTok, which is also like an amazing application, did it in 9 months, and Instagram in 30 months, okay? So there is no doubt, I think, that there is a huge and a unique opportunity and like a technological breakthrough. And this is why I think we see like, you know, that it takes less time for unicorns to become unicorns. So this is like from an industry perspective, and now I can refer like to Lightricks and the opportunity for, you know, for existing companies. So Lightricks was a unicorn before like the new trend of AI. Our vision was and still is to bridge the gap between imagination and creation, and Lightricks even before the GenML trend. We had very successful applications in the area of photo and video editing. Sorry, and this expertise, we leverage them also now. We also have, like Gal mentioned, 30 million mouths, and this is also a strength that we have while leveraging the new trend. Now, luckily, the founders of Lightricks are all computer science PhDs, and they were very familiar, like, with the AI, and they track the AI and the GenML trends from the beginning, like with the publishing of DALL-E and later on Stable Diffusions. And immediately they understood that this is going to be a game changer, and they were fascinated from this technology and started to think how we can leverage this to bring more value to our customers, to the creators, to bring exciting features and really drive innovation, both for the creators and also drive, of course, the growth of Lightricks. So at the beginning, there were a task force led by our CEO directly, thinking about how can we bring value, how can we do it fast with an MVP, like I mentioned, and very, very fast iterations. The first features were like text to image, and AI avatars, which were very, very like innovative at the time. It was almost 1 year ago. We also established like different channels and brainstorm groups to think and come with ideation and implementations and share knowledge. And we did it very well and succeeded. And just during the last weekend, one of our apps, the PhotoLip, really rocks the App Store. We are on the top highest ranked application, by the way, just above ChatGPT. And we continue like after the first AI-led features, we continue to publish and to release new features like AI selfie, AI scenes, and there are many more exciting, and it's really exciting, it's amazing, features in the oven, and we continue like this ideation. The important thing, like from strategic point of view, is really to understand how we combine the strengths and the expertise of the companies, the users that we have, the data. Like Gal mentioned, this is really key. How we combine it with the new innovation, and which we have like new innovation every day to really bring value, and the value will bring success and growth.
So I think this was a very important like feedback and like summarizing two pieces, right? So moving fast and keeping track of new innovations and leverage whatever you have, which is like customer base, the feedback loop, which means like good and tagged essentially data that you can also feed back into the model. So the last one, and I know it's kind of, I don't know, intimidating in a way, but we touched before, and I think we all know there's no free lunch, again, except if you're in a meetup or something like that. But there are obviously major concerns, right? I think when Sam Altman was here, the questions that he got the most from the audience were like concerns, right? Whether ethical, legal, cybersecurity, privacy, you name it. So starting with maybe the security part, and what I love about security is that it always, I come from that domain, that it always follows the market, right? So there is some trend, there is adoption of technology. With the cloud, it was sort of like that, right? Especially for Microsoft, we were telling everyone, you should go to the cloud. And it was like, oh my God, you're in the cloud. You need cloud security, right? So same way goes to machine learning. It just exposes you in more ways. And I would love to hear from Gal, if he can just share, if he has an idea of attack surfaces or risks that are associated specifically with machine learning models and AI systems.
Yes, so obviously, one thing that's very dangerous is connecting these models to your data lake, which enables attacks to contaminate your data. And one example that we saw, actually, I was working in General Electric 3 years back, and we were working on something that back then looked like a dream, a conversational AI assistant for caregivers, you know, to help them ramp up on their shifts faster and summarize the patient care. And we, of course, trained then large language model to generate answers, et cetera. And we saw that when we attacked the model with adversarial attacks, although we trained it de-anonymized, HIPAA compliant, et cetera, that the model exposed user data and exposed user names that we were de-anonymizing. So I think, you know, that's one of the major risks when you're connecting these kinds of models to your data. If there's user data, that's one of the main dangers I see. So imagine again, somewhere in the financial sector, if you're connecting, you know, sort of the guy from Amazon was talking about using tools. So let's say you're a financial aid app and you're connecting this large language model to your user data in order to optimize their expenses, which many people have shown examples on the internet. It trended hardly. So it has possibility to choose, where to spend your money, and people can still steal money from you. So I think that's one risk, and expose your data. So I think it exposes us further. So if we're thinking about Google and Apple one step forward, they will deploy these models probably as assistants, and will personalize them. And we have to be careful with that. So because we're going to give them, our data, and the model will probably sit somewhere in the cloud, and this model is open to attacks. So I think that's going to be a major risk for us as customers.
Yeah, it's sort of, I think, software development lifecycle like attacks, but you add another layer. So because the model is connected to the data, so you can leverage it to access the data, but also the privacy. Oren, maybe you would want to share with us more of what is your take on the ethical dilemmas that are with AI, and when we talk about also proprietary information, so differentiating between human-generated content versus machine, or in general, the IP question, because again, I don't expect legal to, they would ramp up probably in 5 or 10 years as they do after technology. This is why Senate just interviewed Sam Altman. It was like, you should start, we will follow, but I would love to hear your take.
Yeah, so even though the legal system and laws might catch up in time, lawsuits do not. So people love lawsuits, and we already see, all kinds of those. So I would actually categorize that into like 3 concerns that we're looking at. I would label them, good, bad, and ugly. So the good news, I think, is going to be that the whole infringement by training, this is my guess, but the whole infringement by training aspect of it, I think that's going to blow away, honestly. The opt-out of allowing, artists, allowing creators to opt out of training, I think it's going to be a good solution, even though it sounds superficial. That's because of 3 things. The first one is intent. When we see like the infringement cases, like for instance, the latest one with, if you're following up on Andy Warhol versus the Prince image and whatever, that was ruled in favor of the original photographer. And the reason is, I think, because there was a direct intent to infringe, the direct intent to make money out of somebody else's work. With training, that's much less direct. If there is an intent, it's probably going to be the user itself using generative AI to generate some infringing work. And so that is, I think, going to be a less of an issue. The second thing I think is just the world's going to change. Nobody's going to opt out. Nobody who wants their name in the starlight is gonna ever opt out. It's gonna be like taking your name off of Google search. Nobody's gonna do that. I think the bad news is, or the tougher aspect there is really the making sure that there's a substantial differentiation between the works you do generate and the original work. So gladly, that's an easy problem relative to the other problems. So you can compare works and define whether or not there isn't a clear boundary today, but there will be. So that's kind of easier to do. Companies will need to bring in those filters and have a better lineage, provenance of data to make sure that you can't just, create work that's very similar or similar enough to just profit out of somebody else's creativity. You can see that today, if you want to create images and say you using trademarked, characters and whatever. I think Disney characters don't work for Bing anymore and so on. So yeah, but some still work, but not Disney, I think, or Marvel. So so that's being implemented already, and I think it's going to be tough, but it's doable. Where it really becomes ugly is deepfakes. So we're going to see a really interesting, I think, election in the US soon. We've already seen, like 2 weeks ago, there was the the very short drop in the market out after the deep fake of an explosion near the Pentagon, if you saw that. So you don't need to make people believe it all the time for a long time, just to make an impact or make a profit. And that's much harder to detect. So I feel there's going to be a really interesting opportunity in that space. DARPA recently issued, I think it was a 30 billion, just bill to acquire technology that detects deep fakes and so on. So that's out of everything in the IP space, that's where I would actually, focus on and then see how that goes.
So we are almost wrapping. The last thing I wanted each of you to recommend to everyone here on someone that they're following on social media. They think they are good, I don't know, source, not fake news, obviously, of really quality information regarding the space, whether business or very deep technical. So Asi, if you want to go first.
Yeah, so I follow Andre Karpati. It's a technical person. He's really on top of things, very up to date, and he brings some interesting aspects, I think, some things. I learn a lot from him, like get a lot of intuition that I didn't read elsewhere.
So continuing on the previous answer for the IP and law aspects, there's an Israeli lawyer called Vered Choresh, and she really summarizes. I think she has a weekly column on Gen AI and legal stuff, and very interesting.
Yeah, so I'm going to give two names. I think that on Twitter, I think the head of AI at Anthropic called Sam Bauman. He's also a professor at NYU. He has really interesting views on LLMs and generative AI. And I think that on YouTube, a good source of information for like alignment and other futuristic issues is a guy named David Shapiro. So yeah, I think he's very good. He has very good discussions also live. So yeah, that's it.
So I would first recommend Gal because he also has some great insights, and also I follow Ben Lurica. He has a lot of insights regarding AI infrastructure, which is particularly something I'm more interested in. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions, but you can find each of us after that. Thank you.